was just like ingrained in me. I was like, yeah, that's like a thing.
What
like,
it is.
When you're a servant of God and you're doing His work, you don't go in the water because Satan has control over the water. Like, but I'm like, wait, Satan's not Poseidon,
right?
This is the Bill Squire Show.
You all right? You good?
Yeah.
Can you hear me good? All right. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Bill Squire Show. I'm Bill Squire. I'm here with AJ DeCosimo. So there's this news story about a version of Mrs. Doubtfire that's rated R.
I heard about this.
Okay.
I really want to see that.
I really want to see it too.
I want to see that more than I wanted to see the Snyder cut. Of the Justice League.
I'm right there with you. And I think it would be hilarious, and I think they should absolutely. I mean, if you need a money grab, whatever studio that is, I wonder what studio it is.
I don't know.
It's probably one that's like not around anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean that's people would love that. They would flip out over that.
I want to see that go as extreme as humanly possible. That movie.
I would like to see it just be like a funny R-rated version.
Okay.
But then maybe an extreme one too.
Well, I heard that there was like an
NC-17
version of Mrs.
Where
Doubtfire.
he gets his dick cut off.
I didn't hear about that. Was that like a rumor?
No.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. He's like, I'm committed to the bit. You don't think I'm a serious actor? You want to divorce me? Well, I'll show you.
That movie, I mean, it's
a great movie.
It's a great movie. As it is, that movie's really weird.
It's so weird because of the speed with which the relationship with Pierce Brosnan moves forward. It's like her first date, and she takes her kids with them.
That is weird. Even weirder is how quickly Robin Williams is comfortable doing this charade.
Oh yeah.
Like the desperation of a dad
to
see his kids every single day.
Which no dad is that desperate.
No.
There's no dad that loves their kids that much. Like that movie makes every dad look terrible.
I remember two things happened. All right. Yeah. I watched that movie for the first time when I was a very young kid. Mm-hmm. And that was my introduction to divorce. And I'm just like, oh, a divorce is a thing and that got me insecure because I'm an insecure person. And then I went up to my mom. I'm like, hey, Mom, are you and Dad ever going to get a divorce? And she's just like, that's never going to happen. And then like literally a year later, they got a divorce. And then I remember thinking, I was just like, oh, it's okay. My dad's just going to dress up like a woman and trick my mom.
He's going to go and even if he doesn't do that, you think he's going to go to great lengths to just really, and I like that they didn't get back together at the end.
I did too. But the weirdest thing about that movie to me.
Okay, the absolute weirdest thing.
Is how okay everyone was with the fact that Robin Williams just totally violated it. He made them fall in love with someone that didn't even exist.
Right.
And how like there was really no legal ramifications.
Well, I mean, I think there was a courtroom scene, but the mom decided not to press charges.
Right, but I mean,
so you get that.
No, I get that, but she was like paying him. But I feel like not only is there like a civil aspect to it, but there's also like kind of a criminal aspect of this.
But he was doing such a good job.
Well, I mean, it just speaks to his strengths as a character actor.
But he was doing all the work too. So he was doing a good job as the nanny. So all the nanny stuff that he was getting paid for, he was fulfilling those obligations. She couldn't go to the Better Business Bureau and be like, he was a shitty nanny.
Listen,
because he was a great nanny.
He was a great nanny, but this is where I'm like, sort of like, this is why it's really weird, because you always hear these stories about like a sadistic little person tricking a family into adopting them and pretending like they're a kid.
Yes, I've heard those
This
stories.
is like the same thing.
This is
exactly the same thing.
A desperate man trying to be able to spend time with his family.
Right.
And it's one of those things where everything's so over the top in the movie that you just go with it because I think they do a good job of setting up this universe. And I think that's a good thing.
They do a really good job at having you suspend your
Yes, exactly. Because with the big birthday party they throws at the beginning where there's donkeys and just like it's just madness right from the start. So when you're expected to believe he's an old British woman, you're like, I believe it. And also the makeup is great and he really does nail that character. So like it was really good.
His brother and his brother's husband.
They're the best.
They're the funniest. Every scene with them is like the funniest scene in the movie.
Yeah. And that's where I bet there's a lot of good stuff in the R-rated version. Now, the reason I brought it up, though, is I want to know what's another movie that would be great. You know, like a family movie, move it into that R-rated level, and like, would it be great?
Flubber.
No,
I don't know.
Flubber. Always Robin Williams, huh?
Yeah, no. Another great movie that if you moved it into the rated R realm, Liar Liar.
Yeah, I think that'd be a very good one.
Like, because
I feel like there's something about Jim Carrey having boundaries that makes him funnier. Because I feel like when he can do whatever he wants or say whatever he wants, it's not as ridiculous because he's able to.
He has constraints.
He's got constraints, and like those constraints force him to perform in a different way than if he could just say fuck. You know,
right? Because like I mean, years later, the only R-rated movie I can remember Jim Carrey being in is that Me, Myself, and Irene. And years later, I don't think that's as funny.
Yeah, it's not that great.
It's not that great.
It was shocking to see him go that far.
Yeah.
So that's kind of thing. That's a great answer. I think Liar Liar, that's one where there's enough scenes in that movie that you could put in some situations where the R-rated aspect would really play into it really well.
Well, there's like a lot of movies that were originally like completely changed in the editing room, like Annie Hall.
Oh yeah,
like the Woody Allen. There was a murder plot.
Oh really?
Involved in there. Yeah,
I had no idea.
I didn't know. Was
it
about
people trying to murder his career just because he was a little bit loving as a dad?
He would see the Woody Allen.
I know he's a monster. Yeah,
I know he's a complete awful human being. But the Woody Allen documentary is the R-rated Mrs.
Doubtfire. You're not wrong. Well, no. That might even be approaching NC-17 because of the incestual implications.
Which I didn't see the Woody Allen documentary, and I don't want to.
I don't either.
I don't want to.
I'm detaching myself from like the heavy stuff right now. The one thing that I keep pushing people to watch though, and it's not like a heavy thing, it's just an interesting thing. It's called In and of Itself by Derek Delgadio.
What's this about?
And it's a one-man show, and that's all I'm going to tell you about it. It's on
Hulu. You told me about this. Yeah,
it's on Hulu, and it's very good. And don't watch a trailer. Go in cold and just watch it and just experience it. And put your phone down. Like really pay attention to it because it's a very It's an interesting show.
Okay, and you said that it's just a one-man show.
It's a one-man show. Yeah.
Okay,
he's a storyteller. Is what
I always like. Where's the line between a stand-up special and a one-man show?
Well, this is very much not a stand-up special.
Okay,
like this has elements that are funny, but it's definitely not like. I mean, he's telling specific stories and giving like it's bordered, and I don't want to say too much about it. So like it borders on like a TED Talk even at times, but there's so many different facets to it. So I've been saying he's a storyteller just to get people enough information so they'll sit down and watch it, and then once you watch it, then you'll really understand what's happening.
See, because to me, like I remember those. Do you remember those Evening with Kevin Smith specials? Like that's stand up.
That's stand up. Yeah,
that's stand up.
He's doing crowd work. He's doing storytelling. That's stand up, and that's why he ended up just doing a stand up special because like I have all these stories. I have the chops now.
Yeah,
those were great.
Those were good. It's weird.
I went to see him speak at EJ Thomas Hall like a dozen years ago, and they had the line for the microphone go out of the out of the auditorium. So we stood in line waiting to talk. I missed the whole show.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. So like the whole show, we're in line to ask questions, and
You missed it.
I missed everything that he said.
That sucks.
It sucks so much. And then he found out about that, and he's like, what? Why the fuck would they put him outside? Like,
He's like a notoriously nice guy.
Yeah.
From what I understand.
And that's like, I don't even, I was going to tell him about how Dogma was my genesis for like religion, for like figuring out that I had all these ideas that didn't jive with the religion I was brought up in. And then Dogma kind of
put it into
perspective and gave me, like, taught me that it's okay to think different. And so I wanted to ask him, like, what did that for him?
Right, like what made him think that way?
Yeah, like when did he realize religion was a tool used to control people?
Right. Are you still a religious person?
No.
No.
I've thought about. I mean, I think we talked about it.
Oh, did we?
I wanted to start my own cult.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We did. That was like the first episode I was on.
Yeah, and trying to get people to just. I came up with my idea for an afterlife. Just a good Saturday every Saturday.
It's just a Saturday.
It's a good Saturday every Saturday. Not the best Saturday, not the worst. Like, it's just a good Saturday with some things to do. You got some things that are gonna make you feel productive. Yeah, some things that are gonna be a little bit challenging. You get to have different activities throughout the day. You get to have a nice evening.
I want to see an X-rated version of Dogma.
I want to see a PG version of Dogma.
Oh, okay. It would be like 20 minutes and nothing with Salma Hayek.
Yeah, right. And that's a bummer.
Yeah,
because she's so goddamn beautiful.
I want to see an R-rated version of the Lego Movie.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be really good.
You know, it'd be another good R-rated version if we're going into cartoons. I think
Space Jam.
No, I think Space Jam is just kind of a shitty movie.
Okay.
I think overall,
see, I love Space Jam.
I mean, I enjoy it for nostalgic reasons, but I think overall it's
I
not
like it
great.
It's not good. I like it for what it is.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, great to take a cartoon and make it rated R. I would say, I mean, you do it with the Disney ones where they're already trying to put this stuff in there. You know, like Aladdin, where they go, take off your clothes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So maybe a R-rated Aladdin with some violence, like some fucking.
I want to see like
violence.
a really violent Aladdin.
That would be
cool.
fun.
Another Robin Williams movie.
Yeah.
We're just going there.
That's but
what's the dirtiest role, like the most adult role Robin Williams has ever played in a comedy?
In a comedy?
Yeah, because I'm trying to they're all PG-13.
He did a movie called World's Greatest Dad.
Yes, and he did that Death to Smoochie movie.
Yeah, Death to Smoochie is a great
That
one.
movie is really funny.
It's really funny. It's really dark.
It is, and I like it a lot.
But World's Greatest Dad, I never actually watched it, but I know it was like a Bobcat Goldthwait movie.
It's really good.
And it's like his son his son died while he's jerking off, so they
pretend like he committed
suicide.
He tells everyone that he committed suicide, but like his son, like I don't want to. Well, it's not really.
That's
spoiler.
kind of the plot.
Yeah, but in that movie, his son's like a complete total piece of shit.
Okay.
In that movie,
and he's just trying to
paint
a better picture of him.
Yeah, and he's the world's greatest dad for doing that. Yeah.
That's funny. That's a good. Now take that one and make it a PG movie.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a challenge. So let me get my notes here. All right. Okay. So I've noticed this thing, and we talked about it a little bit on the Alan Cox Show, but I have a problem when people don't follow little rules. Like, I get very upset when people, like, if someone doesn't curb their dog, they don't pick up the dog's shit, I kind of lose my mind.
Okay.
Like, and I never see it. I always just see the results of it. Because it's something that people only do when no one's watching. It's like the shopping cart test. If you return a shopping cart, like, you're a good person, because there's no rule that you have to do that. There's like a whole thing about it.
Dude, this happened to me today, and it's so weird that you bring this up. Okay, it's not really like a rule, right? But
it's a courtesy.
It is. I was heavily debating doing something really nice today. I was just driving up the street, and I see it's this kid. He's in high school, and he has a broken leg, and he has like 2 crutches. And he's like walking home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to give this kid a ride. But then as I'm driving around, I drive around the block to go pick him up. I'm like, that doesn't look like a kid. That looks like an adult.
Yeah.
And then I drive around the block again. I'm just like, it doesn't mean that he still doesn't deserve a ride. So I was going to like pick him up again.
It's almost better if it is an adult than a kid. Than
right,
like,
because I'm just like, hey, do you want to
injured
ride?
child?
Hey,
I'm a stranger. Want to get in my car?
Get in my car. But I just kept like circling the guy, going like, am I going to give him a ride or am I not going to give him a ride? And then I finally decided to give him a ride, and then he just wasn't there anymore.
He just like, I got to get out of here. This dude's circling the block looking at me.
Right. And I'm just like, I see, that's like something like I should have done, I feel, but I didn't do.
But that's like a very nice thing, but that's not like a rule you have to do it.
Oh.
So like I'm thinking of things like traffic laws. Like I generally am pretty good about following traffic laws. So when I see someone driving, not like drunk or like texting, I mean someone that thinks they're a good driver and they drive like an asshole, that makes me insane. Because they're putting people at risk needlessly. Like if you're like you so the example, this happened last week. I was at an intersection and there's like a middle lane, but it's not a turn lane. It's just like yellow lines.
And they just did it.
And they just passed through that to go around.
Like, why do you think you get to do that?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then also like you don't know what everybody else is doing. So like they didn't run a red light. They were just timed it so they didn't have to stop behind everybody else and they could just kind of scoot around. So it was like they're just in a hurry or whatever, but there's like a dick move because they didn't know how fast I was going to pull out of that red light.
Can I confess to something?
Is that you?
That's not me. I do treat some red lights as optional.
In what situation?
Like,
and how do you
if
just
there's
blow
no
through
one
them?
there? Well, if there's I don't just blow through them. I'll
Yeah.
always stop, but I treat some red lights like stop signs. If I get there and there's no one there and I see no cop, I'm going
no
through
camera.
the red light. Yeah, no camera. I'm going through the red light.
See that I have no problem with that because that's not putting anybody in danger for the most part.
Well, I see that
Because-
with cops a lot.
Yeah.
Where cops will just turn on their siren and
Just
then
to
just
get
go
through
through a light. I'm just like, if they can do it, I can do it.
I mean, that's not how it works, but
Right.
I get it. I get
Right.
I get the mindset. But yeah, like picking up after your dog and just, and that's why like mask things are driving me crazy. So like somebody wearing a mask but dick nose in it, just having their nose hang out, makes me insane because I'm like, you're already there. Like you're already
You're doing
participating, you're doing everything, but then you're just not understanding the reason for the mask. Like, and Chad Daniels has a lot, like a whole thing about like how he has to constantly explain to people that your nose and your lungs are connected.
Right.
And I guess you didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so I get in that way. And so like I'll just do like the little like nose thing. But when I went to the Cavs game the other night, there's this kid just sitting there and his nose is out. And why that annoyed me so much is because there's some employee that had to go up to him like 8 or 10 times and be like, dude, put this over your nose.
If you can't abide by that simple, you shouldn't be
Right.
anywhere.
I wish they would have just thrown him out.
Yeah.
I wish they would have been like, you're 10 times we've asked you to do this. Just keep your nose in the mask. It's not that. It's
If your
really
mouth
not
is
that
already
bad.
in the mask,
Yeah.
your nose could be in the mask too.
Right. And he knows how to do it. And he knows he's being a dick. And it's just,
How old was he, would you say?
he's probably like 21 or 22.
Well, I don't know what's weird is I noticed at the beginning of this pandemic, it was all the old people that were the problem.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of like it's the younger people now.
Well,
are
I think the younger
ones-
people have been there too, but I think it's one of those things where it depends on the young people. So like
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of people that are like militant and like, and I also won't scream at anybody over these things. I'll just have quiet rage inside my own body and then bring it to the podcast
That's
or the
healthy.
radio show. Right. I think so. I have a growth on the back of my neck. I don't know how I got there. I think it's, but every time I get
you have
angry
a growth
about
on the back of
something,
your neck?
every time I get angry about something, it bubbles. And that's weird.
Is that true? No. Oh, I'm like, wait, bud. I'm like, you got to talk to someone about that.
No. I'm mostly healthy. I believe. I think mostly my biggest problem is just my obesity.
Oh, I've been running every night.
That's great. How far
Yeah.
can you run?
Well, when I first started, it was like,
That's really good though.
yeah,
I can't because my knees like fucking hate
Well-
running. I'll do a lot of walking.
I was going every night for like 3 weeks, like 6 days a week, because the gym I usually go at night because
Yeah.
during the day my work schedule, yada
Yeah.
yada yada. So Saturdays I'm not able to catch it. But every day for like 3 weeks I was running, and then my knees really started bugging me. And then now it's just like every other day.
Yeah.
And it's getting easier.
How far do you run?
I try to do a 5K every time
so
I
about
do.
3 miles.
Yeah, about like 3 miles. I can't run the entire time.
Right. When I was Skinny Bill, I could do like a 20. I could do it in like 25 minutes or so. I could do
5K.
I could do a 5K in about that time, like if I really pushed myself. But usually I try and just stay like on. There was a point when I could run the whole 3 miles and I could stay on at like a 10-minute mile or less.
Oh, okay.
But then the reason I stopped is because my knees were just like, enough of this. Because and that was when I was 100 pounds lighter, and it was still like I walked a lot in the Philippines, and like I did construction work, so like my knees, they're not. I never had any serious injuries with them, but I know they're not great. And then also carrying all the weight that I've carried for most of my life.
I want to see you do a one-man show about your time in the Philippines.
I've got actually a podcast in development about that.
Oh, that's cool.
Like it's a like a podcast production company reached out to me. So they talked about doing a movie or a TV show, but podcast is like their main thing. They're like, I feel like this is the best platform for it. And I was like, that's fine. So it's option. Well, it hasn't been optioned yet, but it is like I have an agreement with.
Can you say what podcast company it is?
Well, it's not a it's a producer.
Oh, okay.
So his name's Brian.
Okay.
But he's worked on like some really legit stuff.
Cool. That's awesome.
And we got Alan Cummings is supposed to like be like the guy.
I love that guy.
Like he's supposed to be the one that like interviews me about it.
That dude's awesome.
I know. I'm very excited about it.
I love that guy.
Yeah. So
tell him I said hi if you ever meet him.
I will.
Yeah.
He's
tell him he owes me $20.
And why is that?
He'll know.
That's another thing. Like he was in
that
the
dude's
X-Men
a legend.
movies. Yeah, he was in the X-Men movies as like the second and third one as Nightcrawler. Really interesting dude. Like
he's one of the best actors on the planet, and nobody really knows it.
Pays attention to it. Yeah, because he's one of those people that just becomes the role, and then you recognize the face, but you don't actually understand. Like,
yeah, he is that dude that you've seen in everything.
He's seen in a bunch of things. Yeah, he's got that like Gary Oldman level of dedication to his stuff. Yeah. So he's very interested in doing this, and they're trying to sell it to a podcast company, and they're taking meetings. And I don't know if anything's going to come from it, but it's until that's done, I'm not doing a one-man show about it. But eventually, if that doesn't come through, I think I will develop a one-man show.
That's awesome.
Because it's interesting, and it's like when we did a lot of interviews about this, like with the guys that are working on it, and they were asking really tough questions, and like we really had to drill down into some stuff that I went through, and then like I reached out to some people that I knew in the Philippines, and like I had misremembered myself to be a little bit more of a hero in certain situations when I was actually kind of the asshole, and that was really eye-opening. I was like, you know what, you're right. I was being a fucking dick that night.
How long did you spend in the Philippines?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Where did you live?
Quezon City, Manila. And they just had different apartments for us.
Did you stay? Did you like have like a dorm?
No, it's like different apartments or houses, and like the church would rent one for us, and then we'd stay there, and then go out and do our work and go back.
The Philippines for 2 years. Mm-hmm. That's unbelievable. I mean, I knew you went, but this is like a period of your life where like we never really talked about too much.
20 to 22, and it's one of those things where it's like,
did you ever come back? Like during that time, or you were there the whole time?
The whole time you're there. You only talk to your family on the phone, Christmas and Mother's Day. So like they have you and like you get 1 day off to like do like your laundry and grocery shop and all that shit, and then like every other day you're working all day. It's ridiculous.
Now when you remember that point, do you remember it like? Are you glad you did it, or would you?
I mean, there's a lot of things. It's a gray area because there's a lot that I learned. Like I have a great perspective on the world, on poverty, on government and totalitarian governments, and how that divide of wealth and just poor people, like that. What do they call that? The wage, not the wage gap, but the. I don't know, but you just see how hard it is for the people in that place to live.
Were they glad to have you there?
Well, it's an interesting thing because they were and they weren't. And it depends on each person because, like, we were a story for everybody that saw us because you don't see a lot of white people there. So just seeing us meant like, oh, I saw missionaries today. And they go, oh, those assholes, they're always trying to get us to change our beliefs. And
They're always trying to give us a planet.
Mm-hmm. But something that's interesting that I learned from it is about how you present things to people. So if you present something to someone with the context of it being hurtful or racist, it completely so let me set this up a little better. So when you walk around as a white person in the Philippines, the racial slur is not really a racial slur. They go, "Hey Joe Romano," because they all kind of speak English. They watch American movies, they teach English in schools from like a young age, so all of them know some English. And so what that dates back to is World War II, when there was a troop station there, they'd go call him Joe Romano. Is an American sounding name to them. So when they would say that, missionaries would sometimes get mad because they're like, oh, you're treating me different because I'm white. And some missionaries would tell newer missionaries like, oh, that's what they call us. It basically is like, and because these are a bunch of Utah kids that have never had any real integration with other cultures at all. It's like, that's like their N-word for us.
Okay.
So like, that's how some people learned what Joe Romano meant. But really what it was is, I notice you're different. I kind of want to talk to you, but I don't know how to say it. So I'm going to just say this phrase that I've heard everybody else say, Joe Romano. Okay. And so I kind of did a thing where I paid attention to how I would tell people about that. Because like at first I was just kind of regurgitating what they were saying. I was like, oh yeah, that just means they're calling you a bad name. Like they're trying to get you angry. So when people would hear, like missionaries would hear it, they'd be like, oh, I'm mad because they're calling me that. And then I was like, oh, no, it's just something from World War II. And I started framing it in that way. And they go, oh, okay. They just don't, they don't understand how to just like say hi or anything like that. I'm like, no, they're just saying we're recognizing that you're here. And then I took it even one step closer or like one step to like even make it even more tame. And I told one missionary towards the end of my time there, he's like, what does that mean when they say, hey, Joe Romano? Why do they do that? And I just said, they don't know what to call you, so they want to know your name. And so just introduce yourself. And then they'll say your name next time they see you.
Was this time, like during this time when you were in the Philippines, did you start like questioning everything?
Well, I mean, I was questioning before I went, and then while I was there, like I really like dug in to certain aspects of it because I'm like, I'm just trying to prove to my dad that I'm a good missionary and make him happy. Like it was never, and like, you know, I'm trying to buy into this religion thing, but it's just not, it's making me sad. It's making me feel like I'm not like a good person. And I'm like, I think I am a good person, but if I'm, you know, I just have these things that I want to do, and I have like these thoughts that I want to share that aren't in line with what they want me to be. So that was like that's when I started like, I'm like, when I do the things that I want to do, I feel a lot better than when they tell me that if I just do things their way, it's going to be this rewarding ass prospect, right, or this rewarding deed. Do
you think like when you were in the Phil, you started considering stand up?
Yes, absolutely. Because I was like, so they had different district leaders and zone leaders and stuff like that. So I wouldn't just teach Filipinos, I would teach other missionaries how to be a good missionary. And I'd always make those as entertaining as possible. So I'd come up with like these, you know, basically I was writing bits and writing like, you know, doing like presentations where I'm like, how can I make this concept entertaining for the guys in my district or zone or whatever? So I'd give these pretty cool, like I thought they were very
not
funny.
Just guys, like kids.
Well, they're either men. I mean, they're like, we're 19 to 21.
They're kids.
Yeah, they're kids. So I'd present to them, and I was pretty good at that. So I was actually like a pretty high ranking missionary, because I had that skill set. I was good at I was great at speaking Filipino language. I was Tagalog. I was like very fluent in it. Like I didn't have the perfect accent or anything, but it was just very natural to me, and they picked up on that.
Wow.
So, and then I started fucking. I fucked one girl, honestly.
Okay.
And then, but I had some dick sucks happen, and all sorts of wild. My first beer was in the Philippines.
Oh wow.
So,
You went crazy down there.
I went crazy. Well, and that's one of the things. Like when I was telling the story to these producers, they're like, "Well, tell me some of the stuff you did that was like so wild." And I was like, "Well, we went swimming." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, Mormon missionaries aren't supposed to swim because they have this whole thing. It's basically an insurance thing, but they frame it that Satan has more control over water than he does dry land."
What
and
the
I'm like,
fuck did that come from?
And right, and like, so I would tell, like, I remember telling that to people, and they'd be like, "Huh?"
That's insane.
And that was just like ingrained in me. I was like, "Yeah, that's like a
just
thing."
what
Like,
it is.
when
Yeah.
you're a servant of God and you're doing His work, you don't go in the water because Satan has control over the water. Like,
Well, then-
but I'm like, wait, Satan's not Poseidon.
Right. Well, wasn't Jesus baptized in a fucking
Right,
lake?
but it was only when we're missionaries, because what it really came down to is they didn't want to deal with us doing dumb shit in the water, because for insurance purposes, it was easier to insure us
So
if we were like not doing certain dangerous things.
Okay, and swimming was one of those.
And swimming is one of those.
I wonder, like, if you had gone on a mission to, like, I don't know, Tibet, would you not be allowed to ski?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts, like, we could play basketball, but we couldn't play full court. So, like, things like that, because they don't want, they're just trying to protect you and keep you from getting hurt.
Oh. Were you injured over there at all?
I did actually get injured, and I got, so that was the first time I had problems with my knee. So my left knee, just from walking as much as we did, just got like real tender, and I just, like, it was fucking driving me crazy. So I had to go and do some rehab, not like, but like some physical therapy on it. And so they had like put a hot compress on it and help, exercise and like massage a little bit. And one time I was in this room with a nurse, and she was probably 22 or 23, and she's Filipino, and she was real cute. And I had a gigantic boner, and I was just like trying to like hide it, but I couldn't. It was unruly, because I hadn't been touched by a girl in a year and a half or something like that. Like, it was about a year at that point. And even like before that, it probably more than a year. It'd been a while.
Those pesky. The one good thing about getting older is we could tame our boners a little bit easier. Now
I'd be like, you're gonna have to spit in my mouth if you want anything to happen here.
Well, no, I mean, here's the thing though: when somebody spits in your mouth, that means the devil
has control
of your mouth now.
That must have been what happened to me. So yeah, so she was doing that, and we were like in like a private area, like curtained off. And then the next time I went back, they had me like out in the room with like an old lady, because she definitely noticed, and was like, "Hey, I'm not gonna massage this guy anymore because he got a boner."
Yeah.
And so I was just like, and I felt bad, but I didn't know what to say, and I was just like,
just pretend like it didn't happen.
I just pretend like it didn't happen, and I also was like, I might come.
That would have been amazing.
Just from her rubbing on my knee.
That would have been amazing.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I got some crazy stories about all of that. Huh. All right. So what did you want to talk about today?
Did you see that the governor of Virginia abolished the death penalty?
I did not see
that.
In
Virginia, yeah. Yeah, the 23rd state to totally get rid of the death penalty. We're almost halfway.
That's crazy.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the death penalty?
I just think it's a waste.
Okay.
I don't think I think our whole judicial system is not about, it's very much about punishment, which you need punishment, but it's not, it should be more about rehabilitation. And we are not, I mean, with for-profit prisons and how we look at criminals, especially like non-violent criminals, and I'm thinking not like the people, because people that steal money they're not really, like, if you steal somebody's identity, or you're like a Wall Street banker and you like fraud, you can get off with a pretty light sentence. But if you have drugs,
you're going away for a while.
Yeah, they treat you like you're the worst thing. But it's just like, I get violent offenders getting hard time, but I just don't. I think rehabilitation would be the best course, and I think thinking that we, have the right to kill people is, I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me. And I also think it's an escape. Like, once you're dead, we don't know what happens to you. So, like, it's presumptuous to think that, like, oh, you're going to go to hell and have to pay for these crimes there. Whereas we could keep you alive and let you, either suffer or, like, depending on the crime, there should be some penance for it.
I have complex sort of.
Was that not complex?
No, I mean, but like on the one hand,
I'm not complex.
No. I'm not saying.
All right, spit my mouth. Get the devil in my mouth.
All right, I'm gonna get the devil in your mouth, and I'm gonna massage your knee now. No, okay, because on the one hand, I hate my enemies and I want them dead.
How many enemies do you really have?
Okay, so I do wish for people to die. I know that's fucked up.
See,
but like,
and I'm with you, but that's people. Like the people that are not cleaning up after their dog. I'm like, you should be
right,
dead.
You should be dead.
All right. So let's just readjust the death penalty to the people, and I get to be judge, jury, and executioner.
Right.
That's really what we all want.
But here's the thing: the people I know, the ones that I want dead, I'm sure that they did that thing.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Every single time you put somebody in prison and you sentence them to death, if you're not in the room as it's happening, there's a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
There's a reasonable doubt. Like,
that's
you
fair.
Can't execute an innocent person.
Yeah.
Like,
now the people that you want dead, what did they do that you want them dead?
They didn't spit in my mouth. They made me sit in the room instead of massage my knee. No, just trivial things. Like, there are people I don't like.
Yeah.
And like
I'm
not saying I'm like wishing for their like them to be murdered, but if they died, I would throw a party, like a little mini party in my brain. I'm like there have been people that I've known that have died that I'm like, great, that's great news. That's fantastic news.
I think like that about some people. There's definitely some people that, like, if they died, I wouldn't be upset. I'd be like, oh, that's probably for the best.
But once again, it's just I honestly think in like crimes that you should incarcerate someone for come down to two things: violent crime that puts someone in a hospital. Like, if we're talking about a fist fight between two dudes at a bar, like a little scrap, I don't think there should be a criminal investigation. If you want to file civil charges, okay. But if you put somebody in a hospital, criminal charge.
Okay.
Sex crime, criminal charge. Murder, criminal charge. Theft over $5,000.
Okay.
Criminal charge. Outside of that,
I think personal theft too, because that's such a violation. So, like, I feel like when you
breaking and entering,
that's one that really feels bad. But like, if you are stealing from a corporation, you're stealing from Amazon, I'm not gonna feel as bad as if you're stealing from you or me or grandma or somebody.
Right, but even then, it's just kind of like, okay, like, even if somebody stole from me, like some kid, like a 16-year-old.
What if it's not a kid? What if it's like an adult and they like took advantage of some sort of kindness that you have or some sort of trust you had, and they stole your identity?
My initial thought would be, yes, throw them in jail. Mm-hmm. But you got to examine it a little bit further. No person who has the means to not do that will do that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think there's people that steal because they like stealing. But I also think that they're using that because it's easier than some sort of prideful situation where they may have been in a situation where they're like, well, I'm not going to go back to a minimum wage job or something like that.
Possibly, but I'm still not. That doesn't scream 5 years in prison to me.
Okay.
To me, it doesn't. Like, if someone stole from me, I don't care really like who it is. I'd be like, dude, don't put that person in jail for 5 years. That's ridiculous. If they like stole like if we're talking about like someone at a bank who like stole $5,000 from me, I'm like, yeah, put them in jail because that's fucked up. Because if they are doing it to me, they're obviously doing it to other people. If I'm talking about like a dude on the street that takes my wallet.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that's a 5-year crime, but I think there's like, but if there's a habitualness to it where they're doing it to a lot of people, I think that takes it to another level.
Yeah, but that's where like rehabilitation comes in.
Rehabilitation's good, but it's also one of those things where it's like, why are they stealing? They're stealing because they're too lazy to go and do a real job because you're not going to get a ton of money.
Possibly, but there are a lot of people who can't get jobs either. It's hard. It's hard to get a job.
I understand that, but there's also, I'm thinking of someone that is capable of getting a job, but they're like, I'd rather commit crime.
And I think that's rare.
Yeah,
I think that's rare.
Okay, it probably is very rare, but I think it does exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most people who commit crimes like theft they do it out of desperation. They do it because I need to steal this and sell it so I can pay my bills.
Yeah.
But
I still don't think that justifies it when you can.
It doesn't.
I think there's enough ways to try and make money. Donate some blood and some sperm. Mix them together. See what you come up with.
I'm not a machine, Bill.
So what about when it comes to, what was I going to say? So, I think we've also doing the whole cruel and unusual, and this is like a bit that's been worked over a bunch of times, but cruel and unusual, not the best thing, but let's drop cruel and just go with unusual punishments. I think creative, unusual punishments could be very rehabilitating, especially when they're like not public shaming, but public service with
like make them try to chug a gallon of milk in an hour.
Well, I just think like,
or hold them down and like poke at your eyeball.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking more like when somebody does something and like the restitution is something either a little bit embarrassing or just like fixing something. So, community service, I feel like, is a lot of picking up trash, which it's picking up trash on highways and it's going to get right back to it. But I feel like if you're doing a community service where you are, building up a school or something like that, it could make you feel good. Or a community service that also teaches you some sort of skill.
Like a trade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, there's a lot of unpaid internships that go out there to people. Yeah. I mean, I think that would also work in favor of the business as a tax break.
Right.
Like and if then you get X amount of internships open, like some for students, some for convicts. Yeah.
And then also you have like there's the for-profit aspect of prisons in this country, and you can still monetize their labor, but it's in a much more humane way.
Yeah.
I think that would be a solid thing.
Yeah. Put them on a chain gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Those guys built the roads.
Do you have another thing?
Did you hear about the Jensen Karp, that TV writer? The shrimp tails and the cinnamon toast crunch?
So if you didn't see this, there's shrimp. He found like shrimp tails in a cinnamon toast crunch box, and then like a little string and what looked like some rat turds or something like that.
No. I think Topanga. He's married to Topanga from Boy Meets World.
Yes, he is.
She found like something that looked like dental floss in another box.
Oh, okay.
They had like 2 boxes.
Okay.
They had a couple boxes of them.
Weird.
Well, they just stock up.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a pandemic.
And here's the first thing I thought of. This shit never happens when you get the bagged cereal.
Yeah, that's right.
When you get the cheap bag cereal, you ain't finding no shrimp tails or dental floss or shit like that in it.
Nope. It's only when you go from General Mills or Post is when you get
because that's
shrimp
where
tails.
That's where all the bad things happen.
And then did you see like they tried gaslighting him and going like it can't be shrimp tails.
You're right. Yes.
He's like, no, these are fucking shrimp tails.
But then all his girlfriends came out and were like, he's actually a piece of shit. Like he had a bunch of ex-girlfriends come out and be like, he sucks.
Oh, really?
This guy's
Topanga's husband?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't see that.
I saw somebody. I didn't even see like anybody tweet that, but I saw somebody like do like a quick synopsis of the whole thing, and they're like, "And this is Twitter, and this is why I love this app."
Oh yeah. I don't know. I didn't see any of that. I just saw that. I saw the cereal company just tried like going like that can't be shrimp tails, and it's just like it clearly fucking is.
It clearly is, yeah.
It clearly is.
Like
Now,
it's
whether or
sugar
not-
all stuck together. It's just
It's like that's not.
that's not. That's
It's
shrimp
not.
tails. Yeah.
Those are shrimp tails.
Yeah, somebody taking a lunch break and they're just like chucking them.
Regardless of if he actually found them in the box is open to
Yeah.
interpretation, or like unless he was just trying to like kick shit up.
Yeah.
Like that's open for discussion. But what isn't is I looked at them. Those are fucking shrimp tails.
I don't know. It made me want some shrimp and not some Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I think that's it. What's your favorite cereal?
Oh, dude.
I'm boring when it comes to cereal. I like Crispix. That's my favorite cereal.
Dude, I like Life.
Yeah.
I think Life cereal is
Life's
good. I
great
like
cereal.
Raisin Bran.
Yeah.
I'll eat Raisin Bran, but I like
Raisin Bran gets a little soggy too fast for me, so I will have it once in a while. But Crispix is my shit. Crispix and Chex.
Here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing. People put too much milk in their cereal. That's why it gets soggy.
Okay, so there's one person that's always talking about. I can't remember who this is, but they're always talking about how they put milk in the bowl first and then they add the cereal.
No, dude. What I do is I pour the cereal in. I just pour it over like gravy.
Yeah.
I don't like maybe it's not a lot of milk, just enough to get it wet.
Yeah.
Just enough to get a little wet. My cereal never gets soggy.
All right. Well, I like it to have some room to move around.
Yeah. So
I like
freedom.
I want
freedom.
cereal soup.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there you go.
Is it?
I like Fruity Pebbles. Fruity Pebbles.
See,
I'm a
that's
big
one that
fan.
people love, Fruity Pebbles, and I think they get soggy real fast, and I think that the flavor is not that great. It's just sugar. It doesn't taste like it. It's just sugar.
It's fruity sugar.
But it's not even like you don't really taste fruit. It's just sugar.
It kind of has like a Skittles thing for me.
But I never got it. But then the reason I really hate that is because that's one of my kids' favorite cereals, and they leave it and let the shit dry to the side of the bowl, and so now I have like PTSD from cleaning
the Fruity Pebbles off.
Pebble bowls because that shit
Have you
would
ever had-
not go
Ever
away.
had Fruity Pebbles, like Rice Krispie treats?
Now those I like.
Oh, those are so
I like those a lot, but I
so
don't
good.
because I
That-
feel like they get soggy too fast.
Dude, you know-
but I do like a Crunch Berry, things like that, which is probably a similar flavor.
Yeah.
But I just think the delivery of like the berry, that's I'd rather crunch on that than the.
I want to
soggy-
see a rated R Flintstones movie.
There you go. Ooh. I bet there's a good Flintstone porn.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude.
There's gotta
the
be.
Flint Bones. Oh my God, Bill! I feel like I interviewed you.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened tonight.
Yeah, like I interviewed you today about your little trip to the Philippines.
I thought that was a good episode.
I thought so too.
Do you have anything you want to plug or anything like that? You don't really do much.
No, I write a lot,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I write a lot of stuff, and then I send it out, and whoever I should be
Somebody
having.
hire him to write.
That would be delightful. I know Jess Fallstick and I are soon are having a piece published with Weekly Humorist.
That's
we wrote
great.
together. Yeah,
That's cool.
So that's all I got
All right.
right now.
I'm going to be at doing an album recording May 7th through 9th at Hilarities. You can get tickets at hilarities.com. So come check that out. It's going to be a clean album. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be good. And I'm working on that this weekend. When this airs, I'll still have 2 more shows at the Funny Stop. If you listen to this on Saturday, the 27th of March, you can come out to that. And that's that. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this podcast. If you listen on iTunes, throw us a 5-star review. That would be appreciated. And then, tell some people about it. I think we're really hitting our stride now.
I think so too. This
Yeah.
is fun.
Yeah.
I like doing this.
Me too. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and good night.
Or morning. They will be seeing this
good
day.
Good day.
This is the Bill Squire Show.